Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, and RTX. These 5 defense giants made over $7 trillion in past 20 years. Yes, you heard it right, $7 trillion, which is 50% of total military spending of United States fighting in Middle East. 9/11's the worst attack on American soil that shocked the entire world and make question mark on American nation security. But for some corporation, it was just beginning of the longest contract in the history of weapons development. Over the next 20 years, the United States would spend $14 trillion fighting the war on terror, which is 4 times more money than the combined military spending of top 10 countries in the world. So, how these corporations make money while other worlds suffering from economic crisis and conflict? The entire system operates through something called government contracting, and there are essentially 2 types you need to know about that. The first is the cost plus contract. The government agrees to pay whatever it costs to build something, plus a guaranteed profit percentage on top. Development programs for new weapon systems almost always start this way, and logic behind is that nobody knows what it costs to build something that has never existed before. So you cannot fix a price in advance. So what this means for the corporation is that they essentially cannot lose money on development, and the risk sits almost entirely with the taxpayer money. The second type is the fixed price contract. Once a weapon system is mature and rolling off the production line reliably, the government will often push contractors toward a fixed price tag, which means the corporation absorbs any cost overruns itself. Beyond the contract type, there is another concept that makes the defense business uniquely resilient, which is called the backlog. Every major defense contractor carries a multi-year order backlog. Essentially, the contracts already signed but not yet fulfilled. Lockheed Martin currently sits on a backlog of roughly $194 billion, and RTX has over $221 billion. Arguably, the most profitable part of the business that nobody talks about is that selling an F-35 is a one-time event, but maintenance, upgrade, training pilots on its systems, replacing spare parts, integrating new software, that continues for the entire operational lifespan of the aircraft, which is 30 to 40 years. The real money is in the lifetime support contract that comes with it. With that foundation in place, let us look at each of these 5 corporations and understand exactly how they have built their empires. Lockheed Martin is the largest defense corporation in the world, and between 2020 and 2024 alone, it has received $313 billion in Pentagon contracts, which is $168 billion more than its nearest competitor. Its total annual revenue sits at around $75 billion, and majority of comes from defense. The crown jewel of their portfolio is the F-35 Lightning II, the most expensive fighter jet program in human history. With staggering estimated lifetime cost of $1.7 trillion, the F-35 accounts for roughly 27% of Lockheed's consolidated revenue on its own. Multiple countries across NATO and the Indo-Pacific have ordered it, and the program is so globally distributed that the parts manufactured in over 10 countries and 48 American states. Below aeronautics, which generates around $30 billion annually, Lockheed runs 3 other major divisions. Rotary and Mission Systems at around generates $17 billion, which builds Sikorsky military helicopters and coastal radar arrays. Missiles and Fire Control, which generate around at $14 billion, which produces the Patriot interceptor system and the GMLRS guided rockets. And Space Systems, which generate at $13 billion and handles the deep space modules, military satellites, and ballistic missile interceptors that form America's outer layer of defense. A single Patriot PAC-3 interceptor costs around $4 million. Lockheed Martin recently secured a contract worth $9.8 billion for Patriot PAC-3 missiles. The global demand for these systems has not declined since 2022. It has increased. RTX is a hybrid defense corporation, which half of its revenue comes from pure defense, which is missiles, radar systems, and electronic warfare, and the other half comes from commercial aviation, which is jet engines, aircraft systems, and its maintenance. The total annual revenue of RTX runs around $80 to $88 billion. It has a backlog of well over $200 billion. The RTX has 3 columns, which is Pratt & Whitney, Collins Aerospace, and Raytheon. The Pratt & Whitney makes the engines that power both commercial airliners and military jets, including the F135 engine, which used in F-35. Collins Aerospace manufactures the avionics, navigation systems, and structural components inside commercial aircraft. Raytheon is the producer of the Patriot Air Defense System, AMRAAM air-to-air missile, Tomahawk cruise missile, Stormbreaker smart bomb, and an entire ecosystem of precision munitions and radar systems. Between 2020 and 2024, RTX has received $145 billion in Pentagon contracts alone. Boeing's total revenue sits around $78 to $89 billion annually, with roughly 60% coming from commercial aviation, which is selling 737S and 787S to airlines, and about 39% from its defense, space, and security division. On the defense side, Boeing has some of the most iconic platforms in the US military inventory: the Apache attack helicopter, the Chinook transport, the F-15EX, the newest variant of a jet that has been in service since the 1970s, the C-17 Globemaster strategic transport, the P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, and now, remarkably, it has just been awarded the contract for the next generation air dominance fighter, designated the F-47. That is a program worth tens of billions over its lifetime, and it represents a major comeback comeback for Boeing in fighter aircraft after losing the original F-35 competition to Lockheed 2 decades ago. Boeing's forward backlog of $682 billion sounds extraordinary, but the vast majority of that is commercial aircraft orders, planes that airlines have ordered and are waiting years to receive. General Dynamics is the quiet giant. Total revenue of General Dynamics is around $47 to $52 billion annually, with a backlog that recently crossed $100 billion. Combat Systems is General Dynamics' ground warfare division. It is the primary contractor for the M1 Abrams main battle tank, the one most NATO allies use, the one Ukraine has been requesting for years, and the one that has now been delivered in upgraded variants across Eastern Europe. It also builds the Stryker-wheeled infantry vehicle and manufactures artillery shells and munitions at a scale that most countries cannot match domestically. The total revenue of Northrop Grumman runs around $40 to $42 billion annually, and the backlog is around $92 billion. But the numbers tell only part of the story. The program that defines Northrop Grumman's current era is the B-21 Raider, the America's next-generation stealth bomber designed to penetrate the most advanced air defense systems, including the Russian S-400 and China's HQ-9 networks. The B-21 is built in the same Desert Facility Plant, California, where the B-2 Spirit was developed decades ago. It first flew in late 2023. The Air Force wants at least 100 of them, with some estimates suggesting the program could eventually justify significantly more. Today, the global security landscape has become increasingly unstable. With Russia engaged in a major conflict in Europe, China continuing its rapid military modernization, and proxy wars spreading across the Middle East and Africa, governments worldwide are accelerating defense spending. As a result, the order books of these 5 corporations have reached record highs, reflecting unprecedented demand for their weapon systems. The question of whether that is money well spent or not, whether those $14 trillion bought the security they promised, whether the current hundreds of billions in backlogs will produce outcomes that justify the cost, that is not a question with a clean answer. It depends on your view of what security costs, what peace costs, and what the world looks like without these systems in it. One thing is clear, these 5 corporations have built businesses that are made to last for a long time. They do not need war to make money, but when conflicts happen or tensions rise, they often make even more profit. So, that's it for today in this video. See you in next one.